Part 4 of our Major League Rugby draft show. Alex Goff with Mike Tolkin, Tim Brown, Doug Coil. We've gone through the 2 rounds of drafting. We've drafted our players. There are over 400 players who declared for the draft. Now, if you've gone through the draft and you haven't been drafted, never fear. There's actually, and Tim, you could possibly speak to this, there's a massive benefit to this now. You've now gone through the system. You can sign with anyone.
Correct. And this is where I start to get really excited, because this was our method prior to this. And Coach Tolkin, coming from Nyack and knowing the value of local club rugby, and then working up through Rooney, we've got 4 D1 rugby clubs that will all reach out. And this is my little ad for Old Glory. But we've got 4 D1 rugby clubs that we've had guys from all of them in our camp in the exhibition season. So, I would make that statement to any of these 400 players. If you call me up, I am going to, at the very least, you could be ranked number 400 out of 400. I'm going to extend the same courtesy and introduce you to all those clubs, because that's what good rugby gentlemen do. And they try to help their fellow rugby players. So then it's up to you to, take whatever job they're offering you and network through that club and become a contributing member. I will say, a lot of players ask me, like mid-season, how do I get noticed? The people even in Coach Tolkin's role when he was with Rooney, or Nate Osborne, or Alex Magleby is the GM up at the CEO up at Rooney. The owner, Webb, up in Toronto. These are all people you can find pretty easily if you're determined. And if you want to show what you have, I would encourage you to get out and ask to attend a practice. Some of these coaches are probably not going to love me for telling kids to do this, but I think they will. If you want to see the level that you need to play at, these other 380 guys that don't get drafted, my hope is they don't look at that as a failure, that they look at it as, okay, I know where I stand. And even though I wasn't one of the top 24, I was probably 25. And it's going to be hard for them not to notice you if you're playing club rugby, scoring tries, making 18 tackles.
In breaking news from Major League Rugby, Rugby United New York sent their 9th and 21st picks in the collegiate draft to the Dallas Jackals in exchange for their foreign player spot, as well as sending the Jackals some cap relief. Now, Alex Goff, Mike Tolkin, and I thought that Connor Buckley would be a good pick. Actually, it's Alex and I. Mike thought that Connor Mooningham would be the 9th pick for the Rooney. That's not going to take place. And the other picks in the 21st round are not going to take place. Rooney is looking to get an experienced player. The draft was considered to be a kind of a short one in terms of really quality players that could step into a starting lineup right away. Most players are going to be fulfilling practice squad roles or spend much of their time playing for the major clubs in the area that of teams that are going to draft them.
Thanks for that, Doug. I don't love the trade. In fact, if I'm running Rooney, I want some local guys there. I want some guys who get some local support. So I would love to have Connor Buckley in there, and maybe they pass that up. Second round, we had Watson Felikitonga going in there. I still kind of like that, even though it's now Dallas taking that pick. So I'm not sure if I would change that much. In terms of this one, where this goes to Dallas now, I don't know. Maybe this is a move by Dallas to shore up somebody specific up here or down here. I kind of think maybe, oddly for me, I'm thinking Brian Nault, who I picked. Let me check here. I picked to go to New England. Maybe he percolates up here somewhere, like NOLA. If that happens, if I'm New England and I don't get Nault, maybe we go to Russell Cuddy or Renault, which is what Doug and Mike have for there. But I think maybe Connor Buckley goes 6 in New England. Just a guess here. Don't love the trade. And Mike Tolkin, we wanted to get a comment from him too, and he's not able to get in front of a camera, but he did send me a comment. So this is Mike Tolkin talking and reading from over here. Rooney basically has a win now approach, and so there's no appetite to build from local talent, and instead they're going to be looking to overseas to build. That's pretty clear with that trade, getting an overseas player slot for each pick and some other considerations, and trading away those picks. So that's clearly a vision decision for Rooney, and that'll shift up the draft bracket for sure. So, all right, that's from Mike Tolkin.
You do this, you go play club rugby, but you got to go dominate.
Yep, absolutely. You have to leave no doubt that you are dominating the level below pro before you get considered. Make it a no-brainer. You are the man. You don't belong here, and you belong up in the pro level. I think the rising tide of rugby with professional rugby is a good thing for clubs, and if they can take advantage of it, they can create a good situation for themselves, and the MLR clubs can create a good minor league system for themselves where they have a whole field of players to look at that they can choose from and have playing crossover athletes, guys at free agents, kids out of college who haven't been drafted, all playing club rugby and showing what they can do. So it could really work out well, and it should work out well.
It's a huge thing about it's a huge thing about attitude is the players can't look at that and say, I didn't get drafted or I didn't get signed, so to hell with it. It's like, just a few years ago, the plan B for you was the plan A for everyone. You're going to go play for Metropolis or the Chicago Lions or SFGG. These are great clubs with amazing cultures and a way for you to you're still playing. And if your dream is to be a pro, great, go there and play and be there every day. And we're going to talk about some names, but there are guys here who we didn't draft because, and Doug, you can speak to this too, but we're not sure they're eligible because they've been out of school for a bit, or they missed a season, or there are a couple that were too young, actually, or they're underclassmen.
Say that for a lot of these players get connected to an ARP team. White Plains is joining the ARP from New York area. Get in touch with you mentioned Chicago Lions, you mentioned Metropolis. You could add Columbus. You could add the Griffins with that.
Sure.
The Texas teams with that. They're going to be playing fall ball. And then you mentioned academy programs. So Rugby 404, New Orleans has an academy. Interesting enough that Houston is going to announce an academy team.
Yep.
Even though they have an affiliate with the West Houston Lions. Okay, so you're going to see some of that.
I got into medical marketing and medical sales by rugby alums who wanted me to come play for their club. So if you don't get drafted, use this time to kickstart your career and play some rugby. And there's just a myriad of opportunities. It's the world's largest fraternity that is non-denominational, doesn't care what race, creed, color, it doesn't matter. If you're willing to be a club guy and you don't have to be a superstar, that local men's club will adopt you and make you part of their crowd and help you find a job. So I think this is a great time for those guys that are 24 through 50 on the draft that are right on the cusp, because they can make their way and go where they want to go.
Some players we either left out for certain reasons or but didn't quite make it into there that were might be interested to talk about. Nick Afuhamango from from Texas Tech, another prop who could develop into a pro. Also in the front row, Spencer Kruger did come up. Matt Davey from Indiana, and Max Caduti from Notre Dame. Definitely somebody we missed out on.
Jared Smallwood.
Jared Smallwood.
Jared Smallwood isn't going to be a tight head prop at 240 pounds.
Yeah.
But he could be a hooker. He also played number 8. I don't know if he's a number 8 as well, but I would probably transition him to a hooker.
So you see smaller props probably should be working on their hooker skills. Out of the hookers, we mentioned Dylan Shotwell was sort of a project perhaps. Stephen Ambrosino from SUNY Binghamton, another guy who could work his way into that. I'm a huge Manny Bravo fan, small guy, but a ton of heart. Lock, we've talked a lot about those locks. Samson Kuti was one we missed. Kelly Fernandes, maybe one we missed. Mike Johnson got in there in a couple of the drafts at least. Loose forward, Daquan Perry out of Kutztown. Not very big, very quick. Great ball carrier. We'll see. That's the sort of thing, is can he play big? Jack Miller out of Colorado, Jack Russell out of Wisconsin, both very talented, but in a pretty deep group. Andrew Guerra didn't quite get as much love as perhaps I thought he might in this show, so that'll be interesting. I don't know, at center, there are a couple of players that I feel bad about. Levi Van Lannen, love him. Kyle Williams, 2 tries in the D1 AA final in the fall. He's got the body for it. Played for Western Michigan. Everyone's like, where's Western Michigan? But somebody who could really sort of break out. Nick Taylor out of Lindenwood might be interesting. And then we talked about some wing prospects. Luka Pavlakis. Be very interesting to see how he goes. And Taron Meek out of Louisville, Pavlakis out of Illinois. These are players out of slightly less pedigreed programs who did very well, led their conference saying tries, things like that. But they probably need some seasoning there. CM Barry didn't quite make it. Jeremy Brown at fullback from Texas A&M. Houston probably want to snap him up and spend some time. He's a small guy, but so smart and a good leader. So those are players that I saw that we didn't mention. I don't know if you guys have any other guys you want to talk about.
Jacob Gupner from Kentucky. His size is an issue. He's a good stepper, but size is an issue. Westchester, Nick D'Angelo. Nick is I spoke to Bjorn Hagwood yesterday, and Nick is either a senior or a fifth-year senior. And he was supposed to play this summer with Old Blue.
And he's a good goal kicker, and he can do 9 or 10 or 15, I think.
Right.
But, so another one. So possibly one of the few 10s that we saw. So I wanted to ask Tim and Mike specifically, you're scouting somebody and you look at them on film, when you talk to the coach and things like that. How do you scout character? How do you scout toughness? How do you scout the idea of what's in someone's heart and head that they really want to do this? And Mike, I know you used to use a term when you were coaching the national team, and you would talk about a player and you'd say, what about this guy? And you'd go, hey, he's flaky. And flaky in that sense would mean you're just not sure if his heart is 100% in it, because his heart has to be 100% in it. So how do you do that? How do you judge that? Or can you?
And you're right. And there can be flaky guys who are like Dennis Rodman, who are great because they work hard. If they work hard every practice and they're a good teammate, great. They can do their own thing and be flaky, and that's awesome. But toughness is so important, and it covers, when you use an assessment criteria, those benchmarks, toughness goes through every single one of those benchmarks. It's in characteristics of attributes and skill, in the mental part, in the attitude part. So it's mental tough. It is a grind. This MLR season's a grind. And if you're not mentally tough, if you can't play through some hurt and some discomfort, both in your body and in your life, then it's not going to work. So it's head down, do work, be a good contributor to the team, work hard.
The standard MLR contract, whether it's an hourly or salaried contract, talks in great detail about community involvement and community service. And it's not unlike a university where as I understand it, some of these universities assign funding based on the amount of community service you do. And I saw a direct correlation between when I have a cool job in rugby. I do community service, youth rugby, and player pathway, which includes getting guys from colleges up and presenting them to the coaches. And I love it. I actually like my job better than when I was doing contracts and all the scouting last year. But Coach makes a good point. How you find character in talking to their coaches. The coaches know, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I called about a number of guys this year. Coaches like just what you were describing for Coach Tolkin, flaky. I had one coach in particular, a guy who's highly rated. He's like, yeah, have fun. You take him. He's yours. And
ouch. Yeah.
But I mean, it's still rugby. If someone doesn't tell you someone's character, that's the end. I mean, you've burnt that relationship. I got to be able to trust that coach, because down the road, I mean, I've seen all three of you multiple times this year, and look where we are. We're spread across the United States, but we're all in the same room. And I got to trust your judgment on someone and the feedback you give me. So it's still rugby. Most of the reviews I got were fantastic. But the question I ask is, like, would they get up and work out? Do they help out a teammate? Do they show up for volunteer work? And that comes out pretty quickly. And I'm happy to report that most of the college players I've talked to and talked about are just fantastic. And, some of the coaches, though, are very candid. Like, hey, this guy isn't a worker. He's looks great, but he's not going to do that dirty stuff for you and may not be able to get to the next level. So I think college players have to be aware that their reputation follows them.
It's all open now. Once you go through the draft, especially for the seniors, you can then go find a team. You still got to work at it.
Doug, wasn't it fun calling all the college coaches, though? It's actually a lot of fun and you get such a wide range of personalities and styles and characters, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So sometimes after I text and they see it coming from 202, they probably think it's spam. So I'm calling them at their job during the day. It's always nice when someone takes the time to say something nice about a student and that it's insightful. So I really, really enjoyed. I probably called 40 out of 50 states. I worked my way through most of the list.
That's great. Excellent. Well, it's good that people do their due diligence. Mike Tolkin, you did a ton of work for this and on the back end of this as well. Tim Brown, really excited to have you on the show there. And Doug, your knowledge of the league is outstanding. And my piddling knowledge about the college game is put in there as well. So that's it for the show. That was the end of round 4, part 4. And let us know what you think about who would be your picks, and let us know who you thought we missed. And I'll tell you one thing, in a couple of years, there's probably somebody we never mentioned at all who will be tearing it up. And if you're that player, good for you. From all of us, thanks a lot for watching.